council has ordered 2 apartment blocks in South East London to be demolished for breaching planning conditions. The problem is the tenants have already moved in.
Greenwich Council says the £36 million Mast Quay development is substantially different to the approved plans. The developer disagrees and plans to appeal. But how can you possibly demolish a £36 million development when people are desperate for housing? Well, let's speak to the person in charge, who is Councillor Anthony Okereke. Very good morning to you. What people will find absolutely remarkable is that this isn't a set of tower blocks which are under construction or where you've just laid the foundations. They are, as we can see behind you, fully built, fully finished and partially inhabited. How does it make sense to knock them down?
Good morning, Susanna. So I think you can see the building behind us, which is the one in question. On Monday, we served an enforcement notification to the developer that built the building. Now, the reason why we've done this is because we found that the building is unlawful. Now, I recognise the point that you just made, but actually the development is so far removed from what was originally consented. And planning is in place to serve for a reason, to serve our spaces, to promote our health. So we need buildings that have planning permission. It has to be a lawful building that we build. OK,
talk to us. You're the leader of the council there. And how many people need housing? What would you say is the lack of housing in your part of the country at the moment that you can justify demolishing 204 flats?
So we know we are in the midst of a housing crisis. We know we're in the midst of a climate emergency crisis. This is by no means a great day. We want buildings to be built that meet planning law. People can't just build whatever they want. At the same time, people can't hold communities or councils hostage and build anything because there is a housing crisis. There isn't a get-out card. Everyone has to follow the law. Now, obviously, plan is in place, like I said, to promote people's health. We're also working with the residents. We've written to them to say to them that we're willing to be on standby to give them advice and support them where they need so. And back in March, we also wrote to the developer and said to them, please do not move people in, which says to me they have prioritised lining their own pockets than thinking about the welfare of their own tenants or potential tenants.
The number of homes aside is 204 that will need to be demolished. The amount of money involved in demolishing them, then rebuilding them, is estimated to be somewhere near £160 million. You can imagine that for the developer is going to be cost prohibitive. So is this merely just your initial stance, Mr. Okereke, and you're actually going to work with the developers to come up with a solution? So rather than demolish the whole thing, actually adapt those flats that don't come up to scratch and make them work within the parameters of what is acceptable?
So I would say that we've been in conversations with the developer for a while now, especially whilst we've been doing this investigation. We've found that the building is so far removed from what was originally consented. The building footprint is bigger than what was originally consented. The lighting and the windows aren't great. The design is so distinctly different. Our serving of the enforcement notice, recognising that the building doesn't meet planning permission, it's not for the council to then seek to rectify that. I've heard the developer is seeking to appeal. Ultimately, the next process will go forward, and how they choose to deal with that, I believe it will go to the courts, and they will be the person that adjudicates. It's not for the council to do that.
Yeah,
however, there is a responsibility. I'll just make this last point. There is a responsibility by developers to build legally. There is a responsibility by developers to build buildings that allow people with disabilities, accessibility. In this building, we don't fully see that.
OK,
and the council have to set the standards.
I understand. Look, the thing is, the viewers can see here that the Times has a photograph of the developer's planned building and next to it, the actual building. I mean, I can't see much different. I think what people are shocked about is that this is so much waste. You have 204 apartments that you are saying are going to be demolished rather than, as Ben suggests, if they're not accessible under the planning regs, simply adapt them. We are in a housing crisis. Political parties are constantly rowing about building, and you have a £36 million development in your borough that you're saying you're just going to get a bulldozer onto, get rid of, at the cost of more than 100 million to rebuild. It doesn't seem to be justified on the principle that you won't be held hostage by developers.
I mean, I think the point we need to really recognise here is it's for the developer to create spaces that are inclusive of people. I recognise the figures and the cost implications of all of that, but also we can't afford to say that some spaces are for some people and other spaces aren't for others.
So why weren't you
it's
policing it?
Why weren't you policing
it?
Hold on.
Councillor, why weren't you policing the development sooner? Why weren't you policing the development as you were going on? Why weren't your officers going in and saying, hold on, this isn't up to scratch before it's finished? Like you said, you spoke to them in March, but I'd imagine that this is something that's been built over a number of years. So one of your team could have gone in sooner and saying, this isn't up to scratch.
So we have been engaging with the developer, but the onus of signing off the building is on the developer. They can either choose the council to do that work or choose a contractor to do that work. They have chosen a contractor to do that work. The onus of that job isn't the council's responsibility. It's their contractor who they employ to be able to sign off and find out if the building's being right. I think we have to have a standard for development. When we talk about planning, when we talk about building design, we talk about things being high quality. And that's what we're pushing for here. And developers have to adhere to this. Most developers do, coincidentally, but on this occasion, sadly, this developer has not done that.
Council Leader, thank you so much for joining us this morning. I think viewers will just find it absolutely remarkable, especially, as you say, Ben, that demolition and rebuilding, according to an industry source, could cost over £160 million. The developer, Coma Homes Group, says it's surprised and extremely disappointed by the decision, and they'll be appealing against the notice and look forward to robustly correcting the inaccuracies and addressing the council's concerns. Not quite as surprised and disappointed as those people who've already moved in.
Yeah, who are concerned about what happens.
Yeah,
76
exactly.
homes are already occupied. Let us know what you think about that.